way that people used to see the journey of a music artist. It's just, that's what it is. It's the old way. And the new way of looking at what our journey looks like as artists is better than it ever was before, in my opinion, just because there's not just one path to success. You feel me? Like, you could determine how you want your journey to look and how you reach your goals based off of what works for you. But I feel like once you do find the path that you want to take, that's the time where you got to go all in. You got to double down and focus all your attention on that one path. And it'll help you with any shiny object syndrome where you won't be desperately looking for some new thing or new way to get where you want to be. Of course, a few times throughout the year, you want to do an assessment of where you are and to make sure what you're doing is helping you get to where you want to go. But never be scared of sticking to your plan. What's good, and welcome to Indie Leverage. This is episode number 8 of the Let's Talk About It show, and we're looking for some of the best advice online for independent artists between creating the content, learning the marketing, the branding, the business, and everything else. Great music alone is just not enough. So let's talk about it. Now, the first clip we're going to be taking a look at today is from Pay the Creators, and they discuss how Content ID is affecting creatives to the point where people are getting copyright strikes on their own music.
With YouTube, the copyright's terrible.
Even on your own music?
Yeah, on your own music.
Yeah.
I'll make a beat, and then someone else will copyright it because I don't know how.
Yeah, well, the artists are probably taking your beats.
Oh, of course.
Or buying them, or licensing them,
yeah.
and then they're going to distribution, and then, distribution...
Copywriting,
Yeah, throws it in the system, and then the YouTube system only understands one master copy, right? And they don't know that there's multiple masters for this beat. They don't know that, and they don't know who's the original master owner of the beat, right?
Yeah.
And so what you have to do to combat that is you got to start distributing every single one of your beats to all the services.
Yeah, through BeatStars.
Yeah, or whoever. It doesn't matter.
No, BeatSars is the best.
Okay, we can do it. You can do it on BeatStars, and you get your ISRC code, and then you have now that that home address for your beat, right? It has a home. It's got an identity now.
Okay, so basically, bro saying that he's a producer on YouTube and he's getting the copyright strike on his own beats. That's through the Content ID system that they have, which honestly, I didn't even realize how bad it was until I started listening to the MEC podcast, but I actually disagree with what that other guy is advising him to do. I mean, it makes sense from a logistical standpoint, but he's basically saying that the producer should just distribute his beats, and before leasing it out to anybody else, he should put it up on like DistroKid or something like that, and then he can put the Content ID on them first. And that's basically how the whole system works. Like, whoever actually submits the claim first, YouTube's going to recognize that person as the original copyright owner. But doing this, this producer would basically be setting all of his customers up for an L before, like, as soon as they buy the beat. Because let's say he distributes his beat first and he has the Content ID in place, right? So when he goes to release these beats, artists are going to get copyright strikes on their own songs as soon as they upload them. So basically, this guy's telling them, just beat these people to the punch. But, he don't say that, but he's just saying that you get the copyright strike from these different artists who have, they made a song to the beat that they leased through you. So he's saying before, they get a chance to pull one over on you, you just hit them with it first. Which again, logistically, I understand why he gave him that advice, but nothing's really going to change by doing that. And really, I feel like he could be hurting his own business in the long run. You feel me? Like, if you're leasing out your beats to all these artists and they getting copyright strikes on their songs, I feel like in the long run, an artist won't want to buy any beats from you in the future. And if every time they use one, they get a copyright strike on it as soon as they put it up. And the thing is, if nobody submitted anything through Content ID, like everybody just left it blank, then everybody would be able to monetize their own personal songs or the videos that they have with their songs. You feel me? Like, when somebody submits a claim, like you said, everybody who has ever used the beat, even the original video from the producer, is going to get flagged. And most of the time, they'll end up having it where you can keep the video up, but they'll either make it where you can't monetize it, or, you know, I've heard some cases where they'll even mute the audio in it. So I guess I just feel like the whole mentality of I'm gonna do it first before they do it to me, you know, it's toxic, man. It's not the right mentality to have, because you got people losing out on their money, you know, that they get in ad revenue, all because someone decided to submit the content ID. So I don't know, man. I just feel like it's a lose-lose situation. And, you know, besides them changing the structure of the entire system, the only way as creators, you know, that we'd be able to fight against it is just to not use it at all. And that's not really realistic, because what's the chances of everybody who puts anything out banding together, artists, producers, anybody that puts it out. So for songs that I distributed through DistroKid, they have it as an upsell where, you know, you can enable the content ID, but the two other distributors that I use, you know, when I submitted my songs, they automatically put the content ID on them. And like I said, it wasn't until I started listening to the MEC podcast that I started hearing some real horror stories about different creators and, you know, the content ID system. So it's crazy how something designed to help us ended up making things way more complicated than they had to be. But, you know, they never really accounted for people leasing beats and having the same rights to an instrumental as however many other artists bought the lease, you feel me? So they never really accounted for producers that use the samples and the loops that are copyright free. So you might have a few producers with the same loop, and even if you change the speed of it or you change the key, it can still detect that. So, but I've already been, you know, claimed before, like where something popped up on one of my videos because I guess another producer used the sample first or something like that. I don't know what it was. I didn't look into it. They didn't like mute me or anything. They just made it where I couldn't monetize that video. And I was just like, whatever, man. That was on an old song that I had already leased the beat. You know, that's kind of exactly why I don't even like using the system at all. It has all of us rushing to be first, and it's really just screwing over people that we should be collaborating with, all because we don't want someone else to take anything off our plate. And I feel like it's not something that the majority of artists or producers are even aware of, you feel me? Like, you always got people out there that are gonna move some type of way, and they're just gonna be slimy because that's who they are. That's how they always gonna be. But I feel like a lot of people are, you know, for example, they're seeing the upsell option for content ID when, you know, they uploading and distributing their song. And as an independent artist, they probably just looking at it like, you know, why wouldn't I do it? It's, you know, just a few dollars. I want my work protected. And there's a lot of things that people will naturally shrug off until they're the ones that get into that situation or get affected by it. And all of a sudden they understand the other side of things and they realize it's a problem. So I don't know, man. That's why I don't think the majority of the time it's intentional. It's not like people out here trying to be cutthroat on purpose. I'm hoping. I guess I'm just trying to, you know, look at the world optimistically. But, you know, you got artists and producers trying to finesse or intentionally do harm. But I feel like a lot of people are just unaware of their actions, you know, and like how it affects other people, especially other creatives. Like, I'm hoping that they're like, oh man, I wouldn't want to do that to another artist because I wouldn't want that done to me. Like, we should all be able to have, you know, some type of empathy for someone going through that situation, just because we're all doing the same thing. So we could easily picture it happening to us. But I don't know, at the end of the day, you know, we all gonna be collectively paying the price for it together. Whether it's your first time or if you're just tired of paying for every song you release, then it might be time to consider using DistroKid. Not only can you release unlimited songs to all major streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple for only $40 a year, they let us keep 100% of our royalties, and they even have direct deposit to make it easier than ever to get paid what we deserve. By using my referral link, you'll be able to sign up and receive 7% off on your first year. In full transparency, I do receive commission off of this, but this isn't like an official sponsorship type of deal. This is actually my own personal referral link that DistroKid gives to the artists that use their services. So I put the link that saves you money down in the description for you, but let's go ahead and get back to the video. Let's go ahead and switch it up a little bit with this next video we got from Vibe Machine. If you've ever wondered how you can make your songs more memorable, then you want to pay attention to this one, because he says there's something called song math that might help us out with that. So let's talk about it.
The reason your songs aren't memorable is because you're not doing something that most songs that people love do. It's called song math. I've never seen a video talked about this on the internet, really. I've heard it in a masterclass here and there, and I've seen certain people mention it, but I'm going to explain a little bit of it to you right now. Song math is as simple as this. Let's say you're starting a verse off. You want to sing a melody, and then you want to sing that melody again, okay? Twice. Let's imagine that you started a verse and it went like this. I don't want to sing no more. What do you do next? Again. I don't want to sing no more. You can go from there, but you need to establish the melody that you are singing per section twice before you move on. It goes deeper than this, but if you simply do that when it comes to your chorus, or it comes to your verse, or it comes to whatever, especially when you have a chord progression that's changing under it, and it'll take that melody, and the second time that it hits, it'll give it new context, and it'll reharmonize it. It'll make it sound fresh. And you can always hear this by listening to an a cappella of a song and realizing when the melody's not moving. And then you just do that again and again and again, as many times as you can repeat it. People will love it.
Man, I've never heard of that before. And what's crazy is that's something that I'm already naturally doing, and it's something that I started doing over time. And if you watched any of my episodes before then, you might know that, when I first started making music, I was trash, bro. So I think that's why I was always the type that could see something in other people around me. Like when they was first starting off and they would show me their first few songs, you feel me? And sometimes they would start coming down on their music, and I'd be like, bro, you just got to keep on working, man. This is just the beginning. But it's because I would have the context of seeing where they were when they started compared to like where I was when I started. You feel me? Like, I don't know. I was always able to see that potential in people. It's just like, man, you already so much more natural at being able to do this than I was. And you over here talking about you look up to what I'm doing, when it's just like, bruh, you should have seen, man. You should have seen where it started. But I never heard of that phrase though, song math. So I can see how that makes sense though. I feel like a lot about constructing melodies is trusting your ear and trusting your gut to steer you in the right direction. And I mean, I wouldn't want to look at it from a mathematical standpoint, when I'm creating a song, but I can see how breaking down your song after you finished it could be helpful. Like I feel like most of the time you'll get a feeling that something don't sound quite right. Something just is throwing you off when you're playing it back. And you may not know what it is, so, that could be where you break down the structure of your song and pick apart what the actual problem is. And I feel like Slick, even people that don't make music and haven't even trained their ears to critically listen to a song like that, I feel like, even them, they still have some sort of gut feeling when it comes to, something don't sound right. They might not be able to articulate it, like put it into words, but instead of breaking it down and trying to figure out why it don't sound right, the average person is just gonna notice that something is off. And they just know that, they don't really vibe with the song. But with music, you can't really pinpoint what's good and what's bad. I mean, I guess like if something's really bad, like people can clown on it type bad, then that's pretty obvious. But there's no set in stone way to figure out whether or not a song is good or bad. Like, it's dependent on who's listening to it. Your answer's gonna change. And sometimes it's the people that step outside of the box and they do something that feels right to them, even if it's not the quote unquote textbook way to be doing it. But there's just so many nuances to it. So I do think that it's helpful to have a basic understanding of how, like most popular songs are commonly structured. Because at the end of the day, as an artist myself, I just feel like I want to make music that I like, not just something that fits 1 + 2 = a good song. Of course, I have a basic understanding of what my audience already likes, and I keep that in mind. But ultimately, I want to create something that sounds good to me, and I want to take things in the direction that I see fit. I mean, that's like one of the best parts of being an independent artist. you know, we have full autonomy over what we release and how frequently we release it. So no matter how you structure your song, just make sure you're putting out something that you can truly stand behind, you feel me? But I don't know, what if you decided that the independent route isn't for you? And it's time to sign to a record label. Or maybe like you decide that you should just partner up with a distributor, which is becoming like a lot more common nowadays. Or, you know, you might not be trying to do either of those, but you want to hire some sort of manager, or preferably a manager finds you and wants to work with you. But in either scenario, you're gonna have to sign some sort of contract agreement, right? And whatever type of contract that you need to sign, I hope you already know, you know, you got to get a lawyer to look over that. But I think it's important for us to have at least a basic understanding of what to look out for in any contract or agreement. And in this next clip from Moses Stone, he says that that artists need to look out and beware of this particular clause before signing a contract to work with the manager. So let's see what these red flags are that he's talking about.
What's up, y'all? It's Moses Stone, and today we're going to be talking about what to look out for in your music contract. This right here is just some game for all of my fellow musicians out there. First up is the sunset clause. Now, the sunset clause entails that your manager receives a commission from any contract that was negotiated during the term of them working with you. This goes for even if you guys terminate your agreement and you decide to move on with a new manager. This is one of the most important provisions for a manager.
So, I mean, I'm kind of unsure what to think about the sunset clause. I mean, I feel like that would actually be fair depending on what the situation is. And obviously, I'm not like an entertainment lawyer, so I don't really know the full ins and outs of how all this works. But I mean, I could see me compromising and saying that a manager continues to get commission off of any project or work that they personally help establish and set up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's where it could get a little bit tricky though, because, you know, when you're trying to decide what they should be credited for, where do you draw the line? And, you know, where do you decide how key of a role someone played in a particular project? But at the same time, you know, I wouldn't want to give up any of my future earnings on a deal where they was just like crossing some T's, dotting some I's, or making some phone calls or something like that. But I mean, a lot of times I'll hear stories of these amazing managers, you know, and they go above and beyond and they truly start something incredible for an artist. And whether that's like an event or a partnership, I don't know. I'm struggling to come up with a hypothetical scenario because I ain't never worked with a manager myself, but I would want to have some sort of checks and balances for how much sweat equity the manager really put in for a specific project or a deal. You know, like if it's something where I feel like I couldn't have done that without my manager, or it's something that we really started together, then I think, you know, the manager is more than entitled to some sort of, you know, compensation for their past work. But now that I think about it, it would be too stressful and it'd be hectic trying to keep up with every project you work on and every deal that was made. So instead, with the sunset clause, I guess whatever percentage that was negotiated and agreed upon, it would just be like something where every year it slowly starts to diminish. I mean, that's how I would do it, where they get a smaller percentage every year until it reaches zero. I don't know, just like we get paid when people stream our music, no matter how long ago that it got released. I feel like managers should be compensated and be allowed to receive benefits of their hard work too, even in the future. But I mean, on the bright side, if all this seems like too much for you, you don't even really need a manager, you know? I mean, you'll eventually reach a certain ceiling doing all this by yourself, but it's completely possible to do everything on your own. Or even once you get to a certain level and you decide to hire a little assistant or to help delegate some of your tasks that are eating up a lot of your time, you know, that could be a route that you take too. So you don't have to necessarily have a manager. I mean, it's really about the connections that a manager has. But my point is, you don't have to have a record label or, you know, a partnership with some distributor. You could do everything you need to do with just you and DistroKid, you feel me? And the old way that people used to see the journey of a music artist, it's just, you know, that's what it is. It's the old way. And the new way of looking at what our journey looks like as artists is better than it ever was before, in my opinion, just because there's not just one path to success. You feel me? Like, you could determine how you want your journey to look and how you reach your goals based off of what works for you. But I feel like once you do find the path that you want to take, you know, that's the time where you got to go all in. You got to double down and focus all your attention on that one path. And it'll help you with any shiny object syndrome where you won't be desperately looking for some new thing or new way to get where you want to be. Of course, a few times throughout the year, you know, you want to do an assessment of where you are and to make sure what you're doing is helping you get to where you want to go. But never be scared of sticking to your plan. I mean, I kept hearing all these stories about artists popping off and they partner up with a distributor. You know, they still got all ownership of their music and all that. So when my moment finally came and I finally started gaining some attention and some momentum, I ended up partnering up with the first distributor that made me an offer. And I mean, I did my research and I did all my due diligence that you're supposed to do. And no, it didn't really have any negative impact on what I was already doing and what I got going on, but it also didn't help me. Like, it hasn't really helped me at all. And I'm saying that because I'm still under contract. And it's a non-exclusive, so I could do whatever I want with the future songs that I release. Or, you know, I could partner with someone else as well. But like I said, it hasn't negatively affected anything, but my point is I'm giving away a percentage of my royalties now for those songs that I signed. And that was all because I was looking at what all these other artists were doing and assumed that partnering with the distributor was the only logical next step in my journey just because it was the step in theirs. And all to find out that I could have just kept 100% of my royalties and would have been in the same exact position that I'm in now. I know some artists would be salty about it, but honestly, I just took it as a learning moment because first of all, you know, this all means way more than just money to me. You know, that's another reason why I signed the contract. I knew that even if things went wrong, worst case scenario, I was only giving up money that I was already okay with losing. And that's what they say about people who make investments, right? Like, smart investors don't invest any money that they're not willing to lose. So that's kind of what I was already doing. It's kind of like Spotify's discovery mode. I was playing around with that. A lot of people was feeling some type of way when they first announced it. But I'm just like, depending on where you at in your career, you know, are you really tripping over 30%? Like, I'd rather have 70% of a bigger amount of money than 100% of a smaller amount. You feel me? Like, as long as the math is mathing, I don't see what the problem is. So the whole situation really just taught me to trust my own process and just to keep my eyes on the goals that I already had. And it's easy to start comparing your journey to other artists, and a healthy comparison check, you know, that's one thing, I guess, but it's a whole nother thing when you let it affect your business decisions. So don't go partner with a distributor just because you think that's what you're supposed to do. Don't go looking for a manager just because you think that's what everybody does and that's what it takes to be a real artist. You gotta let your business be your business. And, you know, this kind of took a whole left turn, but I feel like it's something that needed to be said because maybe I'm not the only artist that needs that reminder, you feel me? But we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next clip. We kind of all over the place with this episode, but Dave Rose has some advice on how artists can book their own shows at different venues. And you're gonna want to take some notes on this one because he even breaks down an exact email template that you can customize and make your own.
If you're an independent artist booking yourself into clubs and venues, this is the video for you. We're going to talk about the email you should be sending to these clubs and venues that works the best. In addition to being an artist manager, I also owned a live music venue for 10 years. And for the purposes of this video, I reached out to a lot of my friends that book talent for venues of all sizes, small and large. And I tried to come up with what I felt like was the best booking email. I got a lot of experts in this field to chime in on this, and we have an email that I'm going to show you here and go through point by point why this should be your template for booking yourself as an independent artist. So you want to jump right in and just state your name and that you're the band leader, in this case, Hank Plank and the 2x4s. I love that name, by the way. If any of you ever start a band called Hank Plank and the 2x4s, please do let me know. And when you're interested in coming to this venue, give a general time, but also some specific dates are helpful. Generally, we'd like to come in the spring of 23, but ideally April 15th if you have that, and then sort of list a couple of dates in order of preference so they can check those. State where you're from, not generally, but specifically you're from Topeka, because sometimes neighboring markets have very different audiences. So you want to state where you're from. State that you don't overplay the market. That's really important. The fact that you know overplaying the market is not good helps them in making this decision, and when you most recently played and how well the show did. In this case, 90 tickets, and what your ticket price was. Talk about the fact that you can put together a multi-band bill of like-minded artists from the area, and some of the ideas of acts that you're friends with and that you often do bills with. Include some of those bands and bonus points if some of those bands have actually played this room before, and then share what you expect a bill like this would do. Now, not all venues love you to put together the bill for them, but a lot do. And if you can help with this aspect of it, it's definitely bonus points. Talk about what has happened to your band since the last show you did in the market, that you've doubled your online following, or you were on a news show, or some big thing happened since the last show that implies this next show is going to be even bigger. And then what do you have coming up? Like in this case, I talk about that you have a single coming out in April, and that's why you want to get in there in April and make it sort of a release show. And then give some basics, a sizzle reel, a YouTube link, your website, TikTok, Instagram. Do not attach things. Do not make big attachments of files. Always give them streamable links or clickable links. And then don't forget to say the best way to get in contact with you, or any way to get in contact with you. Be sure to include your phone number and then just politely sign off. This is obviously just a template. There are a lot of variables in booking, but definitely use this to your advantage in creating the best emails possible when booking yourself.
Sheesh, I ain't realize it was that long, but I mean, he definitely touched on some very important things in this video though. So, when he said that a venue likes it when you put a bill together for them, that's actually been true in my experience as well. In fact, in my first ever performance, they had me put the bill together, and I had to get the different artists and figure out how long the sets would be and all that. But I'm not going to break down the email too much, just because I feel like a lot of what he said was on point. But I want to look at things from a different angle, because he was obviously writing that email as if he was in a band that has already established and had a track record of previous ticket sales and, things like that. So what are you supposed to do if you don't have that yet? And that's really the time where you need to get creative. And one thing to remember is video is always gonna be the best way to pitch your live performance, like to actually show somebody live, like as live as it can get, obviously through video, what your performance looks like. And analytics, like how many monthly listeners you have in that particular city, that's important. But the best way to convince someone to book you for a live show is to actually show what it looks like at your live performance. Does that make sense? But if the best way for you to book a performance is to show a previous performance, but you can't book a performance because you haven't got a chance to perform, then what are you even supposed to do? And like I said, this is a time to get creative. Of course, a lot of cities have open mics, but I'm sure you already know that. So that could be a good way to get some practice, but make sure you bring someone along to get a video of the performance. Right now, your main goal is to get as much footage as possible on you performing live. And depending on the angle, you can shoot a video where the amount of people that are watching you in the audience isn't even a part of it. It's really just showing what your live performance is about. Obviously, if you get any audience reactions and you get a nice size audience, you want to capture that as well and show, people having a good time watching your set. But like I said, right now, your main goal is to get as much footage as possible. If you're a true musicpreneur, then I'd like to offer you a lifeline and invite you to a one-on-one session with me that we'll treat like your own personal mastermind, where I'll answer any questions and we can strategize actionable steps tailored to your unique situation. I'm only opening up a limited number of slots each month, so if you'd like to apply, you can visit www.indieleverage.com/live call. And don't worry, I put the link down in the description for you. So for now, let's get back to the video. Let's actually think a little bit outside the box real quick. Let's say on top of doing open mics, you know, you want to go that extra mile, right? You could save up for a portable PA system, and you could start offering free performances at different parties and events in your area. And you could even start off with the network you already have. So like if you know someone that has a birthday party coming up, right, you could offer some, you know, free entertainment by providing live music. You could even incorporate being the DJ for the party in between sets, you know, get a little playlist together and play some other music that people will vibe to. But what I'm saying is, you could do all of this for free, right? You don't even have to worry about the money right now. You could do this for free and get as much footage of your live performances as possible. This is just starting out. I know some people, they raising their eyebrows when they hear free. Y'all love free stuff, but you don't want to give nothing away for free. But depending on how good you are at this, you could turn this into a nice little side hustle, and you could start getting paid for performing your music. Just around your city, you could start being known for getting parties lit with your own music. And then the more you do it, the more you can start to scale it even further. You feel me? Like, this is what I mean when I say there are countless paths to having a music career. There's no one set way. You don't have to go wait outside some studio hoping that an A&R or whoever just bumps into you and you can, you know, freestyle or something to them real quick. You can decide what the definition of success means for you. But we're going to go ahead and wrap it up with this last clip from the Boys Room podcast. And a lot of you have probably heard of the 10,000 hour concept, but how much work are you willing to put in to get to where you want to be? How many songs did you record last month? How many songs have you recorded today? Should we even be recording a song every day? I don't know. Like, what if we just want to make music, you know, like when we feel the vibe? Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah. My best advice to any artist that's like in the grind right now is a song a day, bro. Yeah. When you make a song a day, you know, 10,000 hours is 5 years. If you think you're just going to become an artist, a songwriter, producer, and you're just going to go in the studio and in a couple months you're going to make it, you got it all types of fucked up.
Russ released a song every fucking week,
right?
You know, and he popped the fuck off.
Right, but to release that song every week, you got to make so many tracks.
He was saying the preparation stage, yeah.
Right, to pick the best ones. It's all about consistency, bro. Like, you're going to get discouraged a million times in this game, bro.
Yeah.
The industry does not fuck with you. It's that simple. If
until
you're lit,
until they do,
still don't fuck with you.
It's all money,
bro. Like, it's all a game, bro.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to play the game, and you learn how to be consistent, and you learn how to just keep fucking going, things start happening.
All right, man. I know this probably gonna be an unpopular opinion, but I personally do not agree with the song a day thing, man. Like, if you can do that, then cool. Do you? But for me personally, that's just not the best way for me to operate. And there's definitely a balance between, you know, pushing yourself while also knowing your limits. And we could use alcohol as an example, right? Like, most people who have some experience drinking, they start to be aware of their limits, and they start to recognize how much they can drink before a good time turns bad. So while I believe you should push yourself, and I'm talking about music, but with the example, that could be like someone having one or two more drinks after they've already reached their limits. But reaching your limit and having one more drink, that's one thing. But imagine reaching your limits and you just ignoring it and you throwing back more and more drinks. And obviously it's not a perfect analogy. I'm not like endorsing you to go drink or something like that. But what I'm saying is, by ignoring your limits and continuing down the same path, it isn't sustainable to do that. And I feel like it could be, you know, it can actually be more harmful to your mental when, you know, you constantly holding yourself to these expectations based off of how someone else operates. But I don't think it's as important to necessarily create a new song every single day. And then obviously I do think it's important to be working on something that's related to your music every day. Whether it's the marketing or the, content creation, or even, the boring housekeeping stuff like adding your lyrics to your songs or something like that. I mean, I personally don't really have a choice in the matter. Every single day, my brain's constantly thinking about music anyways. Not just the creative aspects, but the whole picture. You feel me? And all this basically boils down to how bad you want it. Because, he's right. More than likely, you're not going to drop your first song and a couple months later, you're going to be rich and famous. And I don't even want to speak on the anomalies out there, because it's more realistic and productive to think about what happens the 99.9% of the time. The more you do for what you want, the less you're going to wait for what you get. So definitely, put in that time, set standards and set goals, do what you have to do to keep you on track. But I mean, just remember, the whole point is consistency. You don't got to hold yourself accountable to the mindsets of other people, even if they're successful, because how one person reaches success can be the complete opposite of how someone else reaches it. And only you know what your limitations are. Only you know if you're really pushing yourself as hard as you can go. And you're the only one who can truly call yourself out on all this. So why would you be trying to keep up with whatever strategy just because everyone says it's going to work and you're not serious if you don't do this? But if you doing that means you end up burning out and you go dark on social media like 2 or 3 months later and you drop off the face of the earth, that'll end up doing more harm than good. I'd rather make a song every other day, or even only once a week, if that meant I could stay consistent and continue pushing forward without burning out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this is all tricky and confusing. We don't have the luxury of having some clearly laid out career plan like most other industries. It's kind of a blessing and a curse. And I think that's why the only people that typically make it are going to be the ones that fall in love with the process. They fell in love with it and they're grateful for the whole journey. Not just the shiny light that they see at the end of the tunnel. Not just the finish line. But, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't take this serious enough since I don't make a new song every day. I'm not a serious artist. Maybe I'm just not meant to be an artist. And I should give up now before I live a life of disappointment. Nah, man, come on. What you think this was? Ain't no giving up over here. But that's all we got, man. That's all we got for the episode today. Let me know down in the comments what you think the best advice was. If you have any topics that you think we should cover, let me know that as well. Whether you already subscribed or whether it's your first time on the channel, I want to say thank you for watching. We drop a new episode every single week. So until next time, y'all keep pushing, cuz we starting to gain some leverage.
Put myself on, 'cause I can't settle for average. I made it a habit of doing what they couldn't get done.
Wait, you still here? You must not know a video to watch next or something, huh? Alright, man. I got you, bro, but you gonna have to get up out of my studio, cause yes, what the got me
showing up. You can keep your keeper behind the gate if they won't let me in. Yeah. We balancing the scales now, and we got them scared. Yeah. We been gaining leverage. What I need a handout for? Watch me really put myself on. In the leverage drop gems, you get all the free game. Yeah, we got plenty more souls.